A 1,000-foot tower of flame lit up the eastern Belarusian night. It was 4:17 in the morning on January 5th. At the Khrushchev 6 air base, Russia's billion-dollar hypersonic missile battery was erupting into a cataclysm of its own making. Secondary explosions were so massive they registered on seismic sensors in Poland. Ukraine did not stop a single Mach 10 missile in flight. They turned the entire strategic stockpile into an uncontrollable inferno before Russia could react. My name is Alexander, and this is Alexander Rowan. If you want to understand how patience and precision can dismantle a supposed wonder weapon, subscribe now. This is the investigation into a catastrophic intelligence and military failure. The operation was breathtakingly simple in concept. 2 F-16 fighter jets and 10 drones executed a plan years in the making. To understand this failure, we must rewind to late December 2025. While the world was distracted, satellite intelligence tracked a chilling movement. 10 mobile launchers for the new Oreshnik missile system were moving into position at Khrushchev 6. This was a Soviet-era airfield just 250 miles north of the Ukrainian border. This was not a routine deployment. This was Vladimir Putin's ultimate strategic flex. He was positioning the first full operational battery of this system on foreign soil. For those unfamiliar, the Oreshnik is Russia's proclaimed endgame weapon, a solid-fuel ballistic missile with a re-entry speed of Mach 10, over 7,600 miles per hour. It carries multiple independently targetable re-entry vehicles. This means a single missile can drop 6 separate warheads on 6 different cities simultaneously. Putin called it a wonder weapon that no Western defense could intercept once it reached the upper atmosphere. By moving 10 of these launchers into Belarus, Moscow put a knife to the throat of every European capital. They did not leave them sitting in a field. Khrushchev 6 was transformed into a high-tech fortress. To protect these assets, Russia deployed a triple-layered defensive umbrella. First came 3 battalions of the S-400 Triumph air defense system. Their powerful radars are designed to track hundreds of targets at once. Then they layered in Pantsir S-1 and Tor M2 systems for close-in protection. On paper, this created an impenetrable no-fly zone. To any traditional planner, attacking this site was an impossible mission. Ukraine's high command was not looking for a conventional fight. They knew Russia spent an entire year and billions of dollars to stockpile these 10 specific launchers. The Ukrainian plan was simple but incredibly gutsy. Do not strike when they arrive. Do not strike when they are moving. Wait. Wait until every single launcher is fueled, loaded, and parked in one place. To pull this off, they prepared a specialized strike package. 2 F-16 Block 70-72 Vipers, the most advanced variants, and 10 long-range one-way attack drones. The catch Russian planners missed was simple. The Ukrainians were not going to fly into the teeth of the S-400. The chess match was set, 2 jets against an entire nuclear-capable battery. As the sun set on January 4th, the first shadows were already rolling down a secret tarmac in Ukraine. The hunt was on. At 11 p.m., the silence was broken by the low hum of 6 gasoline engines. These were long-range drones, Ukraine's premier deep strike assets. Essentially $15,000 digital ghosts with a 600-mile reach. As they lifted off, they did not climb. They dove. Their flight computers executed a nap of the Earth profile. They leveled off at a terrifyingly low altitude of just 140 feet. At this height, they hid behind the curvature of the Earth and the Belarusian tree lines. They flew underneath the search radius of the Russian S-400's main radar. For 3 hours, they navigated using high-precision sensors and anti-jamming GPS. Their course was corrected with mathematical perfection. But 6 stealthy drones were not enough to crack the fortress. They needed a distraction. They needed to kick the front door open. Enter F-16 number 1, call sign Wild Weasel. This Block 7072 Viper is a flying electronic warfare suite. Under its wings, it carried key tools. But the real magic was two ADM-160 Maul decoys. If you were the Russian commander of an S-400 battery, what would you look for? You scan for massive high-altitude threats. At exactly 3:45 a.m., Wild Weasel gave them exactly that fear. The F-16 pilot, loitering safely inside Ukrainian airspace, released the two decoys. These are programmable actors. Each can replicate the radar signature of a massive bomber, or in this case, an entire squadron of fighter jets. On the Russian radar screens at Khrushchev 6, the world suddenly went crazy. They did not see two small decoys. They saw a full American-style strike package coming in hot at 25,000 feet. The Russian base woke with a mechanical scream. Air raid sirens tore through the freezing darkness. The S-400 crews, fueled by adrenaline, reacted exactly as Ukraine wanted. They locked onto the high-altitude ghosts. Target lock. Launch. 6 S-400 missiles, each costing roughly $2 million, roared off their rails. They chased shadows in the upper atmosphere. Each launch was a $2 million lottery ticket where the prize was a puff of smoke. Ironically, the S-400 never even saw the 6 drones. It was directed entirely at the ghost squadron created by the decoys. While the S-400 was busy executing digital ghosts, the real threat was still 140 feet above the mud. It was slipping past the now-occupied radar gates. Here is the twist that makes this mission a masterclass. As Russian radar operators celebrated their kills, they faced a grim reality. Their S-400 launch tubes were now empty. They required a 45-minute reload cycle. If you were that commander, and you just spent $12 million to shoot down 0 planes, what is your next move? Do you stay and fight with short-range defenses? Or do you start screaming for air cover? While the Russians debated, the second act of this operation was just beginning. Wild Weasel was not alone. Hovering just behind it was F-16 No. 2, call sign Sniper. It carried the heavy hitters destined to turn Putin's hypersonic pride into a 1,000-foot barbecue. The 6 drones of the first wave were now crossing the final dead zone. This was the 10-mile perimeter around Khrushchev 6. Here, the Ukrainian chess move became surgical. These drones stopped trying to hide. As they approached the inner ring, their computers triggered a pop-up maneuver. They climbed to 300 feet. Why? Because they wanted to be seen. They acted as the ultimate clay pigeons to saturate the short-range defenses. Immediately, the Pantsir and Tor M2 systems screeched into action. These were the bodyguards of the Oreshnik battery. The sky above the airbase turned into a chaotic wall of lead and fire. Dual 30mm cannons pumped out thousands of rounds per minute. Missiles screamed off their rails to intercept the low-flying intruders. This is what analysts call saturation. A system like the Pantsir can only track and engage a few targets at once before its processor maxes out. By throwing 6 drones into the mix simultaneously, Ukraine forced every Russian sensor and bullet onto $15,000 bait. While the Russian gunners frantically celebrated their drone kills, they were oblivious to the executioner 60 miles away. Enter the Sniper. While Wild Weasel was loud and distracting, the Sniper was a ghost. It stayed low, stayed quiet, and waited for the exact millisecond the inner defenses were fully occupied. The pilot flipped the safety cover on the weapon release. Under the wing sat the AGM-158 JASSM ER. This is the Joint Air-to-Surface Standoff Missile. This is not just a bomb. It is a $1.3 million stealth cruise missile with a 600-mile range. Think of it as the special operations version of a missile. Its body is made of radar-absorbent composites. It is shaped to deflect radar waves. It has the radar cross-section of a soda can, even though it is 14 feet long. The Sniper pilot selected the release. 4 Jasmers dropped from the pylons. Their small wings snapped open. They did not go high. They dropped even lower than the drones, hugging the terrain at just 50 feet. They were guided by an internal digital map and a high-grade inertial navigation system. Inside the missile's nose is an imaging infrared seeker. It had a digital photograph of the Oreshnik bunker preloaded into its brain. Even if the Russians turned on every jammer, this missile would not care. At 600 miles per hour, the 4 JASSMs ghosted past the distracted Pantsir crews. The Russians were busy reloading after shooting down the first wave. They laughed about their victory. They had no idea that 4 ghosts carrying 1,000-pound warheads were 90 seconds away. But there was one more layer to this failure. The Oreshnik launchers are mobile. They could just drive away. Here is the masterstroke detail. Ukraine's second wave, the final 4 kill drones, were timed to arrive the moment the hangar doors opened for escape. Imagine you are the Oreshnik battery commander. Your S-400s are empty. Your Pantsirs are reloading. Your invincible missiles are trapped in a bunker about to be hit by 4,000 pounds of specialized explosives. Do you stay inside and hope the concrete holds? Or do you run and pray the shrapnel misses you? The physics of destruction in the next 30 seconds would change the map of Belarus forever. It was 4:16 in the morning. Inside the reinforced bunkers at Krychev 6, the air was thick with ozone and diesel. Russian technicians frantically tried to disconnect fueling hoses. Their boots slipped on cold concrete. The order had come down 3 minutes prior: evacuate the launchers. The sky was compromised, but a mobile Oreshnik launcher is not a sports car. It is a 50-ton beast requiring precision and time. 2 things Ukraine had just taken off the table. Outside, the chaos was absolute. The Pantsir crews, having spent their missiles on the first wave, desperately tried to reload. Their hands shook violently. Some soldiers, realizing their radar was blinded, resorted to a gesture of futility. They stood on vehicle roofs, firing rifles into the black sky, hoping a lucky bullet would hit a $1-million ghost. It would not. 30 miles out, the 4 JASSM missiles executed their final maneuver. Their infrared seekers locked onto the thermal signature of the bunker's ventilation shafts. The onboard computers made a half-degree course correction. This was surgical, cold, and irreversible. The first JASSM hit Bunker 1. It did not explode on impact. That would be too simple. It used a specialized, programmable fuse. This smart brain calculated the deceleration as the nose cone punched through 20 feet of reinforced concrete. It waited until it was precisely in the center of the hangar, right above the solid rocket motor of an Oreshnik. Then it triggered. The world at Krychev 6 ceased to make sense. The initial 1,000-pound blast was just the spark. The real horror began when the Oreshnik's solid fuel ignited. This propellant is a high-energy mix. It burns at 5,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Once it starts, physics dictates it cannot be stopped. The bunker became a pressurized oven. Steel doors weighing several tons were blown off their hinges like paper. A column of white-hot flame erupted through the roof. But Ukraine was not finished. As 2 launchers desperately lumbered out of another bunker, their tires smoking, the second wave arrived. The 4 kill drones had been loitering in the thermal updrafts from the fires. Through their cameras, Ukrainian operators saw the escaping trucks perfectly. Target acquired, engaging. The first drone dove. It did not hit the armored cab. It aimed for the exposed missile canister on the back. Its shaped charge warhead contacted the thin skin of the Oreshnik. The resulting secondary explosion was so violent it flipped the 50-ton truck onto its side. The other drones hunted down remaining support vehicles. In the Ukrainian command center, silence was heavy. There were no cheers, just the rhythmic click of technicians recording seismic data. Impact confirmed. Target neutralized. Structural compromise 100%. The 2 F-16s banked hard for home. Behind them, The horizon glowed a deep, angry orange. They did not win a dogfight. They performed a 16-minute dissection of Russia's strategic deterrent. Putin's wonder weapon did not fail because it was intercepted at Mach 10. It failed because it was too arrogant to realize that in modern war, a $15,000 drone does not care about your speed. It only cares about your footprint. The battery was gone. The strategic nightmare for Moscow was just beginning. You do not just order another Oreshnik battery. These are the Ferraris of the missile world, hand-built, complex, reliant on sanctioned components. By neutralizing all 10 launchers, Ukraine deleted an entire year of Russian strategic manufacturing. Moscow saw a 100% loss on a multi-billion-dollar investment. For months, Putin used the Oreshnik as a geopolitical shadow. He scared Europe with tales of unstoppable destruction. Ukraine proved a fundamental truth. A missile does not have to be intercepted at Mach 10 if you can turn it into a thermal event in its garage. The Oreshnik was only a wonder weapon as long as it was a secret. Once it became a bonfire visible from space, it was just a liability. The invincible shield was shattered by gasoline engines and clever software. If you are a tech enthusiast, which part was the real MVP? Was it the Wild Weasel's jamming that turned the S-400 into a $300 million paperweight? Or was it the JASSM's sniper precision that found a bunker's ventilation shaft? Share your analysis in the comments below. If you support intelligent tactics, changing the rules of the game, like this video and subscribe to Alexander Rowan. Because in this theater of war, the biggest weapon is not a hypersonic missile. It is the intelligence to know exactly when to strike. The fire is out, but the shockwaves are just beginning.